So this is Katie, and she studies law. She's also most likely going to be our academic affairs rep next year, who basically...
I'm uncontested, so I do pretty well not to.
She'll get it. So essentially she'll be dealing with how we are working and how the freshers are working, and yeah, just looking after us in that respect. So we'll just do what I did with medicine last week, 2 weeks ago even, and discuss the subject. So yeah, first, would you like to give a brief overview of...
Yeah, so law at Oxford's a little bit different. We don't get much choice at all, it's quite strict. And it's called jurisprudence, like the degree is a Bachelor of Arts in Jurisprudence, which not a lot of people know, and it's called that for a reason. So we sit modules like Roman law, jurisprudence, which most law students don't do Roman law. It's quite specific to Oxford. So for mods, which are the first set of sort of exams and papers that you sit, and you do them in first year, you do Roman law, criminal law and constitutional law, and then you finish those at the end of second term. So everyone else sort of sits their exams in the third term, so we're on a completely different time schedule to everyone else. And it means we're quite resentful because some people have got this term off to revise for their exams, whereas we got 3 days, so our tutorials finished in 8th week and then our exams started on Wednesday of 9th week. So yeah, once you've sat those exams, which thankfully I have, then in Trinity of first year you start for finals, and you do contract law, tort law, that's the test my memory now, admin, land law, trust, jurisprudence, oh my gosh, I don't even know. Basically, you have 9 papers, I think EU law as well, but they're sort of like quibbling on whether to do that or not. Yeah, and then so you have finals, and they take place in the space of a couple of weeks, and you sit all 9 papers, and they're all 3 hours long. And like, you sit them having not done contract law since the first year, which is different to a lot of law degrees, because I think they have a lot of a tick box approach, like once you sit a module, you sit an exam and it's done. But it does mean that Oxford lawyers graduate being completely up to date with everything that's happened throughout their degree, so we know essentially everything to the best we can. And like I was just saying to Rosie, in 2015 the Consumer Rights Act came out, so it means the finalists now are like messaging, you know, people like, what, you know, just want to check that we understand everything, and it does mean that you are up to date. I think that's everything.
And is it just a straight 3 years and then you can be a lawyer, or do you have to do stuff after?
Yeah, so you do have to do things afterwards. It depends if you want to be a barrister or a solicitor, they're completely different paths. If you want to be a solicitor, you apply next year for a vacation scheme, which is a summer sort of thing, and then ideally from that they will interview you for a training contract, which takes place a year but 1 after your degree, and then the idea is that they train you for a couple of years, you go in a number of different departments, and then the idea is that they keep you on. And once you've done a training contract and the LPC, which takes place in the year in between university and the training contract, then you're a lawyer. And then for a barrister, you have to sit the bar, so I think you go to law school for a year after your degree, and then you do a full pupillage where you go to chambers, and basically like for the first half you shadow a barrister and like see what they're doing, and then I think for the second half you do start to get your own cases, and then again. But I think barristers are a little bit different because there's so many different stages to becoming, like it's so differentiated. You've got like juniors and etc. So it will take a lot of years for you to become a big name.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
In terms of your timetable, what kind of contact hours do you have?
Contact hours, like most social science / humanities subjects at Oxford, are pretty low. We get, I think, about 5 hours worth of lectures a week, but they're not compulsory. And I don't go personally, or I'm not going this term. I went first term to every single one, and I went to most in Hillary, and I did find them useful. I think this term it's more about like wanting to get the most out of freshers, because having exams for the first 2 terms I felt a little bit like I wasn't having a freshers experience. So I'm going to go next year, but it really is hit and miss. Like the people who lecture write the textbooks that you're reading, so they're not that different, and if you're the kind of person that learns on your own, then you won't be disadvantaged by not going. And then we have tutors. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of tutorials, I think they're, because you have the tutorials often with your lectures, lecturers.
Yeah.
And also often with the people who have written the stuff that you have to read. So, I mean, they know it.
Yeah, exactly. My tutor at the moment is, I think she's contract queen, basically. So she knows everything, and she just says little things like, oh, you know, I was wondering why the Law Commission did this. So I went up and asked them, and it's like, just who can do that? But yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So, for your tutorials, are they once, twice a week?
It depends. So we have like normal weeks and then double weeks. So every other week we have taught and contract, and then the other week we have contract. So it means that we get the whole of the module done in contract in 8 weeks, and then we do half of taught and then half of
Half
the
exactly the
Yeah.
same.
But I think like that sounds like quite doable. But when you think about some universities they get, you know, months for each module, and the fact that we're squidged, I think it works out that you get like 5.5 weeks or something per module.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. But no, it's good.
So you brought your reading list,
Yeah.
haven't you? So was this for a single week or a double week?
This was for a double. This was last week. I just wanted to make it representative, although this is harsh week, particularly harsh. I doubt you'll be able to see it, but this is just for contract. And I actually counted, there was 60 case/statute things. Most of them were bold. In fact, no, not bold. I'd say just under half were bold, which means you have to read the entire case all the way through. You need to know what judge said what, why, what the flaws in the argument are, etc., etc. The ones that aren't bold, you can sort of just like read the head note, read the textbook, get an idea of what happened and why. Obviously statute you've got to read, like and then sometimes they do just give you a page or two to read, so sometimes when you get to that point in the reading list, you see one that's just got a few paragraphs, you're like, oh my gosh. Then we had 150 pages of textbook to read, by the tutor, again, so she knows if you've not done it. And then what did we have? Yeah, a 1,600 word essay, this is just for contract. 10 questions, and then a problem question plan, and then she sort of tested us on the problem question plan and like how we would have done it, and she went through the right answer. And then for taught we had probably like 100 pages reading, probably
darkness,
like
my
20 or 30 pages, so it was quite a light week, and then 2,000 word essay.
Literally no wonder you're always everyone.
But like, I learned this last term, I think. What they write down on a piece of paper for you to do is a little bit different to what they actually expect you to do. Like, often in tutorials they will say, I mean, I didn't mention articles, like I probably had to read 15 articles that week as well, that can be, you know, 10, 20 pages. But they were just saying that oh, did you read that article? And it's like, well, it's on the reading list, and it was in bold. But they do do sort of say like, oh, did you read that? And if you say no, they're really not that bothered, because they do know that this is, sometimes it's just not physically possible.
Yeah, I mean, they've stopped specifying what pages we want. I mean, we have one tutor that's nice and puts the chapters order. But the other two, literally just put about 12 books, so you have to read the whole book unless you're savvy about it and pick a paper chapter. And 1 week we had, I mean, it was over the holidays, but we had 2 essays to do over the holidays. They both had 30 books on their reading list.
30?
I was like,
What, the entire way through?
you want me to write a 2,000 word essay? I don't think I can fit 30 books worth of information in it. And we went back and he was like, yeah, I didn't actually expect you to read all of them.
But they put bold and stars on it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, they did.
It's very hit and miss. Like, if you don't do something on the reading list, you can bet that they will say. And also at the moment I'm having walking tutorials in contract. So it's only half the tutorial, to be fair. So we sort of like walk around Oxford, go through like Christchurch Meadows, around Merton. So it's really, really pretty. But it does mean that you've got no notes. She'll be like, right, yeah, recall to me this case, and you're like,
Okay.
I try and summarise everything from a week in like a revision pack. So I learned to do this last term because obviously I had exams straight after. I had to sort of make revision notes as I went. So I don't know if you can see, but like a typical, so like this is a piece of statute and I just sort of put it in, and then the next thing's a case that's on it, and I just sort of go through the facts, the decision, legal principle, and then any like notable comments by judges. And it just means in shoots you can sort of like control F. If they're talking about something, you can control F and then find everything in one place, and it's really easy. And yeah, it's really useful just to flick through in tutorials and stuff.
What is
This is for anyone who is thinking of applying for law, who has got an offer for law, who is, you know, etc, etc. Basically, if you're studying law, you probably should read this. It's such a good book. I applied for Oxford, and I read this book, like not this one, another book, written writing my personal statement, and it was way above me, and I just sort of made a bit of a bodge of it. And then for interviews I read this, and I was so annoyed at myself because it just made it so much more simple, and I could have written a lot in my personal statement just off this. And it sort of like the first few pages, it just takes a house party, and that's like, am I reading the right book? But no, it goes to a house party, and it spends a few pages going through like all the different legal issues, whether there's tort, like, you know, noise, and then there's like so many crimes that take place, you know, even just things that you wouldn't expect. Obviously there's drugs and underage sex, but more than that, it's just crimes that you just wouldn't realise are taking place. So yeah, it's really, really good. It's by Graham Virgo, Catherine Barnard, etc, etc. And it's called What About Law? When are your exams?
My exams are 9th week.
Poor gal. Do you have collections at the start?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so that's what I was like last term. We had collections, obviously, North week, worked full pace, doing tutorials right up until the very last minute, learning new information, and then had mods
Exactly.
on Wednesday of 9th week, 3 days, 3 hours, 3 exams, 3 hours. And when I came home, I slept. I slept for 3 days, just didn't even get out of bed apart from, you know, just to make sure I was clean. And like, just because I was physically drained. I've never felt that tired in all of my life. It's pretty tough. But you know, I would recommend it. It's really fun, it's really good. It is different to other subjects here, like Rosie's probably alluded to. I'm not going to say it's not as hard as medicine, probably not as hard as maths, but it is one of the most content heavy ones. But that saying, you can scoot through with not doing a lot of work if you're happy getting a 60, but 60 here isn't a very good mark really, is it? Like,
no, YouTubers can't, I mean it's a 2-1,
yeah,
which is great, you've got a 2-1, but you
YouTubers
get
get never content with it.
You get the eyes.
They want to see you like 65, 66,
yeah.
sort of, at least. So, essentially I think when they interview people, they select people that they think are capable of getting first.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And they don't just do it based on kind of academics, it's more how you deal with pressure.
Yeah.
So in the interview situation, you might, like, for me, I got an E, no I didn't, I got a D in biology AS, and I did art, which is very odd for someone applying to Oxford. But I had enough A's to apply, like that was fine, because I did 5 if you include general studies. But I mean, I think that's why I got passed to St Peter's, to be honest, because it seemed that Peter's put more emphasis on you as a person, whether you could deal with it and kind of get through it, and you were that type of person, whereas Hartford seemed very much based on the academics. So this, I mean, that's what you can check when you apply to colleges, but by doing that you have to talk to students. I don't think there's any other way you can really distinguish between that sort of thing.
I think there are very few people here who think it doesn't matter what college I was interviewed at, I would have got in. In fact, I don't think I've spoken to anyone ever that thinks that. Like, I think it's just how everything lines up. It's just luck. Like, I applied to Brasenose, got reallocated to St Peter's, got on with the tutors that, you know, they obviously wanted to teach me, and like, that could have just not happened elsewhere. No. And
it is literally
such luck.
when you click with the tutors.
Yeah.
They literally choose who they get on with because they're going to work with you for 3 years.
And then once you get interviews, I think they only interview 40% of people. You're probably all. I mean, there's going to be a couple of standouts that doesn't matter who you are as a person, like they want you. But everyone else, you're pretty much. You know, it is based on how you come across as a.
We had 80% interviewed.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, you can't tell a lot about a subject that you've never done before from a personal statement. So most people get interviewed, and then they basically just see how you react to pressure situations, essentially. Yeah, I don't know how many people. I mean, there's only 23 people in my year doing Arcanum.
Yeah, I think there's like 100 and something doing law, so they probably have to. But that's one thing I should probably talk about, applying for law, like the stages that you go through.
Oh yeah, do that.
So a lot of people have entrance exams specifically for their subject at Oxford, whereas our entrance exam applied to Durham, Nottingham, a lot of other unis is the LNAT. I'm sure if you're applying for it, you probably would have heard of it. It's an online sort of test that you take at the local driving centre school thing, and it's just an online multiple choice, and then you write a little essay typing, which is a dream because I'm a far faster and more accurate type than I am handwriter. So yeah, you do that, and that goes off to a lot of unis. Not all of the unis ask for the LNAT, which is why you need to be strategic when you apply. And then yeah, Oxford go off that, then they give you an interview, and then you just sit the usual 2, 3, 4 interviews. And personally, I had one interview with a case, so they gave you sort of like a physical case to read for half an hour, and then they grilled you on it. And that was the first time I've ever encountered a case, so I was trying to figure out like where everything was. Luckily, like I talked to it quite quickly, and then survived the interview. And then the second interview was just, I think I had like 10 different scenarios on when people could be exempt from the law for like religious reasons, and we sort of had to go through and just fight each one. Whereas I think I was quite difficult in the interview because I was like, oh, personally, I just don't really see why anything should be exempt from the law. And they were like, right, well, try and think, like, if you did believe. So it's quite difficult in that way. But I think I had quite nice interviews. Some people had, like my friend who was interviewed at Queen's, she had like 3 case interviews, all with cases. So one thing I would recommend is look at a case. It will frighten you if you have an interview, but they will give you one that's perfectly readable in half an hour and you can understand. It's going to be a little bit challenging, like, wait, what did they say? Why did they say that? Who's that? Yeah. But they're not going to give you like the most complicated trust tax thing in the world. It'll be like crim or tort or something quite nice. Yeah, and then it's just the usual cycle after that. Same as everyone else. Offers on the 10th of January or something. 15th. Yeah.
I think that's probably it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my entire life summed up.
Well, I have got to run to rowing now, and, well, I'm going to say that I'm not rowing.
Yeah.
But it's raining.
Oh, wait, I thought you finished coxing.
Yeah, but I've still got to do the practices.
Oh. I might start rowing next year.
It's good fun, it's good fun. I'm not doing it in winter term because it's dark.
No. I know, that's the problem when you start.
Best time to start is Halloween.
Is it? But I know if I don't start in Michaelmas,
you won't.
Yeah, we'll see how I feel. I'm looking forward to like doing more stuff.
Actual things, yeah.
You have to demand your life back at Oxford because you can easily just make work for yourself that you cannot do. So go and do stuff.
Do things.
Do stuff.
You have time to do it. Just do it. Like,
you won't remember like the essay crises, but you will remember club nights and, well, you probably won't remember club nights, but you'll remember like balls and formal halls and stuff. So.
Yeah. Right. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. See you next week.
Was that it? Or are you going to do it again?
Well, I'll probably just leave it like that.
Fair enough.
Woo! That's this week's ending sorted.